Christmas present. It has a double meaning. It means both at this moment and present. Christmas 2020 was pretty interesting. I did 3 Christmases because we did smaller groups. So that was an interesting challenge. But this year, it's regular Christmas. We're going to have a fantastic Christmas on Blackjack Christmas 21. If I may, I will read you the description of Christmas 2021 using my card. Transcendent, luxurious, sylvan, fancy word, opulent, magnificent, lavish, abundant, spectacular, splendid, glorious, radiant, and superb. Those are my goals for 2021. Will I succeed? Yes. So based on a lot of requests from your unbelievable kindness of writing us comments, which I can't thank you guys enough for taking a minute to just write anything to us, there's a lot of requests for vegetarian recipes. So seeing as it's Christmas, we thought we'd make a luxurious vegetarian menu with yummy, tasty things that are not vegan, but vegetarian. So today we're going to have an olive tapenade, which is a highly flavored spread for crackers, etc. Then we're going to have risotto. Don't be scared. You can do it. Risotto is basically a rice dish from Italy. I'm sure you guys know this. But you can make it quite lovely and opulent and lavish and splendid. And we're going to make a sort of a palate cleanser. Not sort of. We're going to make a palate cleanser or a dessert. It's up to you. Which is rosé wine granita. Now, if you've never made this, it's really, really easy and it's kind of flashy. It's like a icy sorbet. And then I'm gonna show you how to make a cheese plate. Now, when I go out to dinner, I'm not a sweets person. And if there's a cheese plate, I'll always order the cheese plate because I love cheese. Adam also loves cheese. I can see him nodding out of the corner of my eye. So we're gonna make a beautiful cheese plate and talk a little bit about wine pairings, which aren't as strict as people say they are. But so we're gonna have an amazingly luxurious vegetarian Christmas dinner for Christmas present. Rosé granita. Let's talk about rosé for a second. The most disgusting rosé on planet Earth is Whispering Angel. I find Whispering Angel disgusting. It sells well because it has high alcohol for rosé. But anyways, I like Domaine Haute, which is really overpriced, but they have a lesser label called Minuti, which is really good. And this is actually a decorated bottle, but this is $16, $17, and it's pretty good. Basically, what you're doing is freezing wine. In order for it to be palate cleansing, it has to be slightly sweet and slightly tart and clean. If you froze wine, I'm not sure if it would freeze uniformly. So you put sugar in it and it breaks up I don't know what it does, but it works, okay? So as I always tell you, do not make sugar syrup, okay? The ingredients in this is sugar and water. Just buy this. Don't bother making it, okay? That's a word to the wise dinner partiers. So I'm gonna pour, I'm not gonna make a huge amount of this. I'm gonna pour about half this bottle in here. The juice, the precious juice. If it's all the same to you, I'll drive that tanker. Sweet. You wanna be tasting this. Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna put some of these in. These are pink peppercorns. I'm gonna strain it before I put it. Just give it a little interesting flavor. Now you can put anything you want in a granita. You can put mint leaves, you can put basil. It's up to you what the flavor is to clean the palate of your guests. To be clear, this is rosé wine, obviously. You can make it with any liquid. Orange juice, pineapple juice, whatever you want. And the process is simple, which I'm gonna show you. I'm putting a little bit of lemon juice in here. You know, with risotto, it's good to have something clean because the risotto, there's a lot of flavors going on here. So I'm just gonna make sure this is nice. Great. I'm gonna let this rest for just a few minutes to let the peppercorns come out. And then I'm gonna pour the liquid into this metal hotel tray. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in the freezer, which should be interesting because all of my dog's food is in there. I do have a Magic of Television one in there. And then for about 2 hours, then we're gonna scrape it like this with a fork and mess up the crystals. And then every now and again, before a service, we're gonna scrape it again. And you'll see it looks like snow, like a snow cone. There are other kinds of palate cleansers. A sorbet, regular old sorbet. This is basically sorbet that's just not churned. There's like herbal drinks that people take. I mean, Underberg, I guess, but sort of, but not really. Basically, you're trying to cut the richness to proceed forward in the meal. Anyways, this has been steeping, let's say, for 20 minutes. Now that's it. You just made granita, by the way. And here comes the interesting part, which is finding a spot for it in the fridge. Cover it with plastic, I forgot. This also makes it easier to handle. Just warning, do not fill this too high or too thick, okay? So you want it to be a small container, but not too thick because it'll take forever to freeze. But I mean, if you're not in a rush, it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna put this in the freezer for at least 2 hours. I'm gonna show you the Magic of Television one. So see how beautiful that is? It's soft. It's like snow. It's like a snow cone. You wanna use like a cute glass or something that you chill, which means a lot of them will get smashed in the freezer, so be careful. But you can put it in the fridge as well. Chill the glass, even if it's a little bowl. This is a coupe, which also happens to be the nickname of one of my good friends. But you put a little granita in here, little mint or whatever, sprig or something, and just serve it like that in a nice cold glass. Granita. Let's make olive tapenade. I mean, is it a vegetarian version of something? Maybe pate, but it's also its own thing. Sometimes this has anchovies in it, ours doesn't. It's just a lovely, delicious, very flavorful spread that takes extremely limited skill to make. Basically, it's blended olives. Okay, so I'm not gonna put garlic in it for 2 reasons. Number one, I can't digest garlic, and number two, my garlic is old, and I forgot to buy garlic. So I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of this onion, which is one of the last onions from the garden. You have to give respect to the garden onions because they're very sweet. A little bit of onion. I'm putting some Kalamata olives that are mostly pitted. There's probably a pit floating in here somewhere. And I love olives. They're amazingly delicious. The most incredible experience you'll have with olives is tasting an olive that's not pickled, like a fresh olive. It's unrecognizable to what you think of as an olive. I'm just gonna blitz this a little bit. This notoriously doesn't work. And I always try to use it because it's smaller than the big one and less cleanup, but it doesn't work. But it might work for this. It did work. Okay, it's still pretty, it's chunky-like. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil. Okay, a little bit of vinegar. Might be too much. And I'm gonna put a little bit of our old favorite, togarashi. Woo! Why are we not making this all the time? So when you're making it, trust your dinner party skills. You know, like, how does it taste? Do I want it to be more vinegary, more oily, more spicy? So that's the consistency. I'm going to try it. Oh, I ate the crackers that I was going to use. Hold on. It's delicious. Little cute dish. You can serve this with your cheese plate after, or you can serve it as an appetizer when they come in with a little, crudité, something, cut up vegetables and crackers. The vegetarians in your life will love this because it has a lot of flavor. It's highly flavored. Don't be sad. There's tapenade. It can't be that bad. Tapenade. Let's talk about risotto, a vegetarian dinner dream. It's also gluten-free, which makes it a convenient, luxurious thing to have if you have gluten-free guests. It's made from rice. The most common one is arborio. So buy arborio rice. There's other ones you can use that make firmer, less firm, blah, blah, blah. The most common one is arborio. Unlike white rice for your fish or your chicken or whatever, this is encouraged to release the starch from the rice. And that's done by slowly adding liquid instead of adding the liquid all at once and covering it. So it's a little different, and it gets a creamy texture, almost like oatmeal does, from releasing its starch. It's a very convenient thing. It goes with a nice crisp salad, or you can put vegetables in it, or, I mean, it's very versatile. And we're gonna use a vegetarian stock today, but you can use a chicken stock. You can use a fish stock, which is a little strange unless you're putting shrimp in there, or scallops. And basically, we're gonna just cook some risotto. People think it's hard because if you don't put enough liquid or keep it loose enough, it seizes up into the same way that oatmeal does. Different plant, but it'll turn into a rock. It should move when you tilt the plate. So let's give it a go and make some risotto. It's not that hard. The problem is you can't really make it in advance. So if you don't mind your guests seeing you make it, you can almost make it when they're there. The first thing we're gonna do is fry off some shallots and leeks.
Hot pan, olive oil.
Right, so we're waiting for a hot pan. This is a beautiful pan that I got at E. Delarin in Paris. You remember the story about the casseroles? That was so funny. So I have some beautiful chopped leeks and onions from my garden. I'm gonna use almost all of it because I'm gonna use some of it for the veggies I'm gonna put in the risotto at the end. You'll see. So I'm gonna use probably 3/4 of this. I've heated some vegetable stock here, so it's ready for us when we're ready to start adding our liquid. So heat up your stock. Your guests are here, la la la, it's Christmas time. I feel so good about stuff, even though my dog is kind of old. Take every day as it comes. Stuff like that. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in here. I'm just frying these and we're talking because there's nothing else I can do while we're doing this. I'm actually gonna turn this up slightly. And then what I'm gonna do, you'll see me do it, I'm gonna put the rice in and I'm gonna toast the rice a little bit in the oil and leeks and onions. Then I'm gonna add wine first when the rice is really thirsty. So its first absorption is wine. In this case, we're gonna use rosé that we used for the granita. You can use white wine. Red wine makes obviously a red risotto, problematic. I am going to put the rice in any second. Okay, I'm gonna toast up my rice now. And I'm gonna put a little butter in here. Toasting the rice just gives it a little more depth of flavor, that's all. Now I'm gonna wait until it gets kind of dry, until the rice has kind of swallowed some of the butter and oil. Now you notice I'm touching it a lot, which you don't do with white rice, okay? Because we're encouraging it to open and receive. After you make risotto, with the old risotto, because you're gonna make too much, I guarantee you, you can make arancini, which are fried balls of basically old risotto. This is pretty toasted. I'm gonna put the wine in. Here we go. Now we're gonna wait for that to completely disappear. The rice is going, oh, a drink! And it's absorbing this, and it's starting the process of revealing itself in its true form. I wonder if porcini powder would be good in here. She uses it in everything. Perfect additive for risotto. Okay, there we go. So I put that in late, but don't worry about it, because you're gonna cook the hell out of this. Now, some people will tell you that you can walk away. That's not true. You cannot walk away. from risotto. It's a hands-on thing because it goes from lovely to concrete like that. You can't walk away. So, oh look, it drank the wine. I'm gonna give it a little more wine. I'm gonna let it soak that up. You know that Sia song, the greatest, right? The song goes, I'm free to be the greatest, I'm alive. I'm free to be the greatest here tonight. The greatest. It's a fantastically sad song, it's great. I was talking to Lynn and Carl. Carl is our costume designer. Lynn and Carl and I were talking about stuff for the children's show, which we do every year, and this year it's our 20th anniversary of the children's show. What is it like to be one of the actual greatest in the world? Like, for instance, Tyson Fury. When he sings that song, or hears that song, and it says, I'm the greatest, he actually is the greatest heavyweight boxer. All right, so it absorbed the wine. It's getting pretty dry, almost sticking a little bit. Time to start adding. Stop. Word to the wise. Move this close, okay? First ladle. Oh, even Steven. But anyway, you take somebody like, who's the greatest? What? Wayne Gretzky? Wayne Gretzky, Adam?
He's known as
Wayne
the Great
Gretzky.
One.
Wayne Gretzky. So by stirring it, I'm encouraging the risotto to open. See how quickly it absorbs the water? That's why you can't walk away. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more fluid. So you see why you have to do this when they're here. Stirring, stirring, stirring. Keep them rices stirring right. You wanna hear a joke?
Yes.
What do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
What?
They're both parasites. Parasites. They're both parasites. You see how the rice looks bigger, less defined? I'm just gonna taste this. It's softening. So I'm going to fry up the veg so that it's ready to sprinkle on top. Hexclad, the Rolls Royce of pans. I know we posted about this, but they're a funny combination of non-stick, cast iron, and carbon steel. It's the most incredible pan I've ever used. Oh, it's just the same thing, the leeks and the onion. This is one of my favorite veg. This is called Romanesco. Look how beautiful it is. Talk about art forms in nature. Look at that. This could sing that song. The greatest, the greatest. I'm being careful with the salt, guys, because at the end of this, we're gonna put in a handful or so of Parmesan, which has a lot of salt. So I'm being a little bit parsimonious with the salt. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of vermouth in the bottom when it gets hot. Here's my dog. He's the greatest. You are. He is the greatest. I'm gonna check this because I think it's getting close. It's al dente. It's delicious. So I'm just gonna put like 2 of these grated Parmesan cheese in there. And if it seizes it up, which it will a little bit, I have plenty more broth. Putting a little bit of butter just to luxuriate it up. It is Christmas. I'm gonna wipe down the sides and we're ready to serve. Success. Success! Now, I'm taking my little fried vegetables and I'm just going to sprinkle these on top of the risotto, like this. This will change. It will absorb the water that's in there. Now, a couple times, we've had guests coming at different times, and we'll serve it, and we'll allow it to seize. And then when I hear the gate or I see the lights, I'll loosen it again. But you can't do that too many times. The rice will eventually just explode. I'm just gonna put the teeniest little bit of liquid, and it will continue to absorb this. Okay, risotto fit for the table for Christmas dinner. Time for your palate cleanocer. It's a beauty. It's a beauty. Look at that. Rosé snow. Here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah. Buddy boom boom. This is boxwood basil. Boop. Now, who can say no to that? Come on. Palate cleanser. Good. Let's make a cheese plate. A cheese plate can consist of a single cheese, some dried fruit and nuts. End of story. But let's make a fancy cheese plate. We're gonna just take the mystery out of this. First of all, you can't make a mistake. People love cheese. Basic rule of thumb. You're supposed to go clockwise. You don't have to go clockwise. It goes from mild to intense. But you don't have to do that. The other question is, do you want to cut the cheese? Or do you want to just put the pieces? Well, today we're going to cut it because it's more eleganza. And do you put your stinkiest, softest cheese on the tray with the other cheeses? The answer is probably not. What I did was I bought 7 cheeses. The stinkiest one is the Epoisses, which is already much less stinky. Smell that, Adam? It's stinky. It's ammonia, it's stinky. It's a washed rind cheese. I love Epoisses. It's, the flavor very commonly with a lot of these stinky cheeses is so much milder than the smell. And another trick I want to tell you, because I love Vacherin Mont, which is very difficult to get in the US, and it stinks. But if you open it, by the time you put it on your cheese thing, it really doesn't smell that much. But anyways, it's a strong cheese. Then we have a very beautiful Jasper blue, which is a little smaller than when I bought it because I ate a lot of it last night. A Comté, which is it's basically Swiss cheese. A Cotswold, which has fennel in it. This was an interesting cheese. This is called Deer Creek the Robin. It's essentially in the family of a cheddar. Saint-Nectaire, which is a soft, stinky cheese that's more of a crowd pleaser. And this, which I've never had, which is wrapped in flowers. So I've never had this. Crisp flower power. So first of all, we're going to build our cheese plate, and then we're going to discuss wine pairings, which everybody gets super upset about. You can drink any wine with any cheese you want. Some wines go better to some people with certain cheeses. Not everybody. He's having a drink of water. It's not that significant. I'll tell you 3 wines that you could have on hand that will basically go with everything on your tray. Let's begin. My mildest or my most simple one is this one, the Deer Creek. Now, when I get a cheese plate, let me just even that out. I sort of like it when the cheese is cut. It's nicer. Well, when you go to a restaurant, it's always cut. So we're gonna do 3 slices of this. I'll be honest with you, it's my favorite dinner. Cheese, glass of white wine, or 2. Make them look nice. Cheese too, Comté. If you serve cheese whole and it has a rind, you have to cut the rind or you have to provide a dish for the rind. I'm gonna cut the rind off and cut pieces. Cut a little thick because then you can go like this. Tastes like Swiss cheese. What goes with cheese? Nuts, dried fruit, and we can make this more opulent as we go. I'm not cutting a lot of it because I'm not sure how big the plate's gonna look, etc. Let's try this. I've never tried this before. I have no idea what it is, actually. I bought it because I thought it was kind of beautiful. Which rinds are you supposed to eat? And which rinds are you not supposed to eat? In my opinion, unless it's plastic, you're supposed to eat the rind. They made it with the rind. This stinks, which I didn't realize. It's beautiful. Oh, that's very interesting. It has mint, but it's good. It's very delicious. If you have a cheese department that has fancy cheese in your grocery store, I guarantee you there's somebody there who's dying to talk to you about the cheese, okay? It's the same thing we talked about with the sommelier, okay? These people want to talk about cheese with you. If you go in and say, I want to make a 5-cheese cheese plate, can you help me? I'm telling you, they're going to be so thrilled. So I'm going to cut with the rind. I want to serve this with the rind because the rind is part of this. We're going to go to the Cotswold. Now, this is an English cheese with fennel in it. I'm going to cut a wedge, and then I'm going to do slices. Oh, it looks good, right? So far, we haven't even decorated it yet. Okay, moving on to the Saint-Nectaire, which is a sort of stinky crowd pleaser cheese. So I'm going to cut this in small pieces. This is a washed rind cheese. In my opinion, if you don't eat the rind of this, you're crazy. They spent hours making this for you. Okay, so this goes like that because we want them to start here. Here's the blue cheese, which is a Jasper blue. Some people prefer soft blue cheese. I like this kind of blue cheese, hardish blue cheese. So this is just a nice thing to do for your friends. They will appreciate it. You want to cut it cold because otherwise it'll smush, but you don't serve cheese cold. So you want to cut this, and it has to be room temperature and loose when you serve it if it's a wet cheese. You could put the Epoisses in the middle, but the Epoisses will ruin the other cheeses. It'll run into the other cheeses. I'm going to serve it in a separate little thing. Fruit and nuts. We have some cranberries here, and we have some dates. I'm going to cut the dates in half and put a little balsamic vinegar on them. Not too regimented. Some cranberries. Some nuts. These are marcona almonds. This company, Dalmatia, is superb. This is a sour cherry, and this is figs. Now, figs are a common cheese plate accompaniment. So we're going to do 2 little dishes of this fig spread. And we're going to do a little cherry spread. I'm going to put a little balsamic on the fruit in the middle. This is my favorite dessert. If I have a choice, I'll order this every time. So I could honestly eat this whole tray. I have some beautiful crackers. When we set it out, I'll show you. You just serve it with Carr's water biscuits, some fancy crackers you saw in the store, crostini. And then in terms of wine, okay, so what you don't want is something that clashes with the cheese, okay? So really what you want is a light Pinot Noir, which is a Burgundy, which will go with most of these harder cheeses. For the blue cheese, you need a Riesling, a Sauterne, port, something light, tawny port. And guess what? That also goes with the soft washed rind cheeses. But guess what else goes with it? Any wine you have in your house. The worst thing that's going to happen is a momentary strange flavor, specifically with the blue cheese. It does clash with like a Bordeaux. It's going to be slightly weird. If you want to just cut corners, get a white Burgundy, a Riesling, which is a German sweet-ish wine, or a Sauterne, tawny port, sherry, and a Pinot Noir, which is a red Burgundy. And also experiment. Go to the cheese store before your party, buy a few cheeses, and put 3 wines out. And say, this doesn't work for me. I don't agree about the Sauterne. I don't agree about the Riesling. It's your choice. You're a dinner partier. What I would not suggest is a Burgundy or a red Bordeaux with the blue cheese. That's the only one I would say is a little funny. But what's the worst thing that could happen? Cheese plate. Come on. Today we made a vegetarian Christmas meal for Christmas present. We made an olive paste tapenade. Can't be bad. We made a lovely risotto with Romanesco topping and porcini mushroom flavors. We had a palate cleanser, oh yeah, rosé granita with boxwood basil. Then we had an elaborate cheese plate and discussed wine pairings, which you can totally ignore. Merry Christmas. Old Lee. You know, I'm going to be straight with you guys because you're so kind and you love him so much and you're so good about him. You know, he's aging and he had some incidents of vertigo this weekend and some, you know, he's starting to decline a little bit more steeply. But he had a good day today and that's all that matters right now. You know, you got to honor your dog. And part of that is understanding that they are getting old. I'm not telling any senior dog owner something you don't know. But you just have to, your most important goal is to honor your dog. Right, Lee? So, Christmas present. Vegetarian Christmas. We want to thank you guys so much for sticking with us. It means the world. You better hold on for Christmas future. Here's my dog. He's the greatest. You are. He is the greatest.